Fionna and Cake, the fanfiction that was written by the Ice King and later by other characters in the Adventure Time universe as some sort of criticism and celebration of fan-made content. The episodes were never the greatest since they had negative tropes from fanfiction on purpose. Nevertheless, it was a neat idea to develop characters further through in-universe fanfiction. Now, it's been a while since Adventure Time has its last bit of content in the form of 4 40-minute episodes called Distant Lands. I assume the success of that series led up to HBO ordering a Fionna and Cake show that is supposed to continue the series, at least in spirit.
Thanks. That's not a book, it's a bomb! Yeah.
So, on the 17th of August 2021, and I quote literally, HBO Max has given a serious order to Adventure Time Fionna and Cake, an all-new half-hour young adult animated series starring the fearless sword-wielding adventurer Fionna and her magical best friend, the talking cat, Cake. Produced by Cartoon Network Studios, the 10-episode series will explore their relationship in the mysterious land of Oo. Adding Muto will serve as showrunner and executive producer. This is as of end of August 2022, a year old. So, honestly, there's nothing to worry about. There is no set time on how long it takes to make cartoons, but you can roughly think about 6 to 8 weeks for one cartoon episode. This might change depending on how much money you are willing to spend on it, but that's the rough estimate. It was announced at the end of 2021, so Fionna and Cake should be coming out at the earliest at the end of 2022, and more likely should be coming out in the beginning of 2023. Ever since the announcement, there has not been much talk about Fionna and Cake, and so some might be worried that it might get cancelled, especially because HBO is now being merged into Discovery+. Should you be worried though?
I don't even understand.
On the 8th of April 2022, it was announced that Discovery and AT&T would combine Warner Media with Discovery and create Warner Media Discovery. The reason why is not very clear to everyone, but the assumption is that these are all cost-cutting measures to try to make the whole company more profitable. It is difficult to find out what is going on because everything is hidden under layers and layers of legal jargon and just pure numbers. Articles trying to explain or videos trying to talk about it also don't help because they seem to just talk out of their ass sometimes or are just clickbaiting. I mean, just look at this. Prepaid expenses and current assets? I can assure it's not that kind of prepaid as I'm interested in. Goodwill? This thing is definitely not friendly. Series A common stock $0.01 par value. 10,800 and 0 shares authorized, 2,658 and 0 shares issued, and 2,428 and 0 shares outstanding. 27. At June 30, 2022. Everyone that understood a single word I said is an accountant. I'm sorry for you. But at the same time, as someone that has a degree in finance, I understood some of it, but not all of it. As far as I understand it, HBO, HBO Max, and Discovery Plus are operating at a loss in the ballpark of $500 million. I might be reading this the wrong way, but holy fuck. That's a lot of money. Anyways, with that in mind, it seems that under AT&T and Discovery, streaming services seem to be the thing that are simply not generating enough profit. There might be several reasons why, but the easiest explanation is that the HBO Max and Discovery Plus catalog is not attractive enough for people to sign up and pay for subscriptions. At the same time, those streaming services have to pay for licenses, their own productions, and the server infrastructure for the site. The balance between those two sides is skewed towards expenses, and so overall they are unable to generate enough revenue. Did everybody understand that?
No way, man.
Good, because now it's time for some shenanigans. Companies exist to make profit, especially when it comes to publicly traded companies. Their sole purpose is to make profit. If they had to kill grandmas and it was legal, they would do it in a heartbeat. So, as a publicly traded company, there are few options to quickly turn your company that is bleeding out money into a profitable business. Option number 1, fire as many people as possible. This will cut down operating costs and make the company leaner. This works in the short term, but in the long term, you're cutting out knowledge and experience from the company. This, of course, will lead to a problem in the future where you don't have any products you can sell. Our interest, though, is not to make profit in the long term. Our interest is to make profit for the next quarter and drive up the stock price. Option number 2. Sell, dissolve, and write things off. Selling or dissolving entire arms of your company is a big step, but yet again, it will help to make the company leaner. If an arm of a company is literally operating at a $500 million loss, it would probably be best to just get rid of everything, but sometimes those parts of the company are strategically valuable. In this case, streaming is the future of media, so it makes sense to keep operating at a loss and making the service leaner, and for that you have to write things off as losses. For tax purposes, of course. No other reason. For sure. What is written off and what stays is all dependent on so-called key performance indicators, in short, KPIs. What those are and how you measure them is not known to me, but I'm sure the guy that instigated the merger, David Zaslav, also known as one of the most overpaid CEOs, knows exactly what he is doing. Option number 3. You file for bankruptcy. Could be either Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which would allow you to operate normally as you possibly can and get your shit together, or just straight out bankruptcy. In this case, option number 1 and 2 was chosen, and with that came a lot of decisions. First, they fired 70 employees from HBO Max. Then they began purging content from the HBO library. Also, all the content related to those shows were purged from YouTube and Spotify. You probably heard about the Batgirl movie being canned, and someone actually asked the question in the investor call why it was canned. The answer was, well, there was no answer. Instead, we got a whole minute of ramble about how great of intellectual property DC is and that they have a 10-year plan moving forward. It was implied that quality was the reason why the movie, that was already in post-production, was canned, but Batman vs Superman, Justice League, and Suicide Squad exist. And you can cry and whine about how you love those movies, and that's fine. Those movies are not of high quality. From dialogue to cinematography, it goes from subpar to subterranean.
Maybe the story is a new form of torture.
The real reason is a tax write-off. They are writing off the production cost as a loss, so they have to pay less taxes for this year, or at least for this quarter. I didn't quite understand though why they purged content from the HBO library. It could be that they're also writing off those shows as tax write-offs, but that would be incredibly silly since you need content on your streaming platform to be able to retain subscribers. If it turns out that it was written off, that is stupid. While a lot of people are claiming that to be the case, I am not so sure, and the evidence is a bit flimsy. The assumption is that since they can't make money off the series that are written off, they also have to remove all the content from YouTube and Spotify since it generates ad money. I understand that for Spotify, yet again, you can just turn off monetization on YouTube, so removing the content would not make much sense. My assumption is that they are taking those series from HBO Max for now and all the other YouTube channels and are going to make those available in the future on Discovery Plus. And probably with that, they're also going to reinstate all the content back to YouTube. Anyways, the investor call had some other interesting information to figure out the actual question of this video. Is Fionna and Cake cancelled?
Yes, let's never do anything boring ever, okay? Time for Ice King's boring book reading.
Oh, come on. He's just gonna read those weird stories that are basically about us.
I kinda dig getting loosely adapted.
This line from overpaid CEO David Zaslav stood out to me in particular.
Curation, quality, and brands have never been more important.
I call cap on quality because highly overpaid CEO David Zaslav probably wouldn't recognize quality even when it screamed him in the face. What he probably means is customer satisfaction. Anyways, duration and brand is a little bit more interesting. If you read between the lines, the company wants people to stay on the platform for as long as possible, and the content they are watching is somehow tied to some sort of brand, which will lead them to watch other things from the same brand. Later on, we see that Cartoon Network is in fact under brands and not network. So Cartoon Network is not even considered an actual network, as the name would suggest. It is more seal of quality for cartoon shows. Regarding streaming in general, CEO and president of Global Streaming and Games, J.B. Perrett, had this to say.
However, in recent years, a strategy has emerged that suggests the video business will be better off collapsing all windows into streaming, overpaying for and overinvesting in content, and offering it all at the same time for a low price. We don't believe in this strategy. While we intend for streaming to be a critical part of our company and a key driver of our growth as consumers continue to shift their viewing habits from linear to nonlinear, it's only one part of our diversified approach. The focus of our streaming strategy is consumer choice.
To translate, they want to cut down the cost of shows, invest in more shows that are easy, fast, and cheap to produce, but they still want to offer a streaming service. The reason why they want to offer a streaming service is because customer behavior has changed over time, and people simply do not want to watch things on a schedule, but on demand. I had already mentioned that HBO Max, and Discovery are operating at a $500 million loss, and here we have the reason why they're still alive. While it is losing them some good chunk of money, streaming is a strategically important market, so they rather choose to lose money in the short term to generate money in the long term. The only difference between AT&T and, for example, Disney is that Disney has a bottomless pit of money and AT&T doesn't. Disney can operate at a loss for literal decades, and AT&T can't. Given the circumstances, it would be more likely that AT&T loses value and is then hostilely taken over by Disney in the process, if they don't get their shit together. Anyways, during this conference, we don't hear or see much of the animation branch except for one appearance of the Cartoon Network brand, a single frame from the show Teen Titans Go, and one blink and you miss it moment where we see that they are planning on restructuring the content portfolio for scripted, linear, kids and animation, direct to HBO Max films, and international. Again, translation, they want to make scripted as well as animated content more cost effective. So far, if you have been following along, you would think that Fionna and Cake might never see the light of day, and that conclusion would not be wrong. Nevertheless, it's not that simple. While right now HBO Max is being purged, we know that it will be merged together with Discovery Plus. The new service will need content, so it just can't cancel all the upcoming shows in the hopes of becoming profitable. Everything for this quarter is in danger of being cancelled, but everything beyond that is pretty much unknowable. We also saw that Cartoon Network is seen as a brand by the new company, and Adventure Time is closely tied to the Cartoon Network name. Furthermore, the Distant Lands episodes have remained untouched, and so far there is no news regarding any Adventure Time projects, be it positive or negative news. My best guess is that Fionna and Cake might get delayed to 2024 or maybe even 2025. If it was cancelled, we should have already heard about it. I even asked Eddie Muto, the showrunner, but I don't have enough clout yet to get an actual answer. Adventure Time is still a strong brand, and as we heard from Overpaid CEO David Zaslav himself, they want to focus on more brands. Still, all of this is a giant clusterfuck where nobody knows what is going on except for the people at the top, and I doubt they will confirm or deny anything.
What are you trying to do to my head?
If you feel confused, me too. Anyways, give me money on Patreon or I might write you off for tax purposes. Thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, and have a nice, wonderful day.